YTBC, what's the deal? So I'm going to go ahead and give my official prediction for this fight. Let me start off by saying this. When Bermane Stiverne and Deontay Wilder were scheduled to fight each other for the WBC title, I said whoever wins that fight, it doesn't matter who wins it. I think both of these guys would lose to Alexander Povetkin. Now, this is January of 2015 when this took place. All right. Up until that point, I hadn't seen Deontay Wilder face the adversity he faced in the Stiverne fight, the Molina fight, the Duhaupas fight. You can argue that Szpilka, as far as what we've seen in the ring, you can argue Szpilka was better than any of the guys that Wilder has faced. I know Sergey Lakovic won the title, I understand that, but I'm saying on fight night when Wilder was in there with those guys, even Malik Scott, on fight night, Szpilka was much better than those guys on fight night, all right? I hadn't seen Deontay Wilder really get fight off his back foot, and I guess it depends on what you consider fighting off your back foot is. I know some of you guys consider it, you know, moving around like Ali, Holmes, so on and so forth. To me, it's just being able to move back, whether you're dancing, whether you're sliding. Be patient, use your jab, being able to fight going backwards, all right? Real simple. Then I thought if Stiverne won that fight, he fights similar to Povetkin, and I think Povetkin is better at fighting at that style. Now we fast forward all that. I looked at the betting odds, and they have Deontay Wilder minus 140. For all my bettors out there. All right, now I got that all out the way. Let me go ahead and break down this fight now, all right? When I look at Deontay Wilder, he has 5 inches in height on Povetkin. He has an 8-inch reach. 6 years younger. He showed me that he can fight a patient and disciplined fight. Even in the Szpilka fight, even the Duhaupas fight, when he's not in a position to blow you out in the first few rounds, he will, you know, fight a patient fight. I believe a few times in that Kelvin Price fight, the crowd booed a few times when there was like it was like a break in the action a little bit, and both guys are trying to, you know, 2 tall guys in there, man, trying to establish their jab. It may look kind of, I guess, boring to some fans, but when you got 2 tall fighters in there, they're trying to establish their jab for the most part. So Wilder showed me he can do that. I didn't know he can do that when he was coming up. I just thought he was a come forward tall guy. You know what I mean? But he showed me that he can be disciplined in his fights. He also added in that check left hook, and he can pivot off of it and move. To me, he has also gotten better at stalling you out. Stalling, you know, he won't really initiate anything. Sometimes he did it with Szpilka. He sat there and he played the stall out game. And when he was stalling with Szpilka and they were, you know, posturing each other, he would just stick his jab out there. Sometimes he was pawing with it, but just to, you know, to get the better of the non-action, I guess. He showed me that he can do that. And to me, in my opinion, sometimes that's a plus when you can do that as a fighter. It lets me know that, you know, you're going to think your way through it. I didn't know Deontay Wilder could think his way through it prior to the Stiverne fight. He has shown me things. Let's look at Alexander Povetkin. And I'm going to go back to Wilder with some things that I think can be taken advantage of. Look at Povetkin. Second best resume to Vladimir Klitschko among current heavyweights. Mariusz Wach, Andrzej Wawrzyk, Manuel Char, Eddie Chambers, Larry Dono, Chigaev, Bird, Rockman, Huck. Goes on and on. I know in his 13th, 14th, and 15th pro fight, he fought Larry Dono, Chris Bird, and Eddie Chambers. Chambers was 30-0 when he fought him. And Dono and Bird, both those guys still had a little left for a guy that only had 13, 14 fights. I believe before that fight, Larry Dono had lost a close decision to the big Russian. What's the big guy? What's the big dude's name, man? The big guy, y'all. Nikolai Valuev. Povetkin, former title holder. He has 4 title defenses. He's going to have the hometown advantage, and I think he's the better inside fighter. Look at the Chigaev fight. Look at the, who else? Carlos Takam fight. I think he's the better inside fighter. I think he positions himself better with his hips. I think his punch variations are much smoother, much more fluid on the inside. I think he's a very good shoulder-to-shoulder guy. He knows how to use his shoulder and forearm to sneak in combinations. You'll be leaning against him, and he'll be leaning against his opponent. And he knows how to, you know, push you off with the left shoulder, and then, boom, sneak a right uppercut, and then come back with a right hook. He's good at doing things like that on the inside. That's a place I think Deontay Wilder does not want to be with Povetkin. Although Wilder did show a little infighting, close-range fighting with Duhaupas when he was trying to finish Duhaupas. I think it was like the 5th round. He was trying to finish Duhaupas off. I think he had him hurt or buzzed. I believe it was the 5th, maybe 5th or 6th, 5th round probably. I think Deontay Wilder's going to smother his work like that, and I think Povetkin's shorter arms. He's just more equipped to fight that inside fight. Plus, he's been, you know, all the stuff he learned from Teddy Atlas and Stacey McKinley. If you know Atlas and McKinley, you know that they worked with who? Mike Tyson. So they taught a lot of these things as far as using your leverage and, you know, your height being shorter to your advantage in that, slipping and rolling style that Tyson used to use. Those two trainers passed all the information along to Povetkin. I'm not saying he's Mike Tyson, but I'm just saying those two trainers right there, in my opinion, are masters at teaching that type of style. So I'm just saying Povetkin, I'm not saying those guys be in his corner, but I'm just saying he has learned from some of the best trainers as far as using your, being the shorter guy to your advantage, all right? Povetkin, like I said, he won the title. He had 4 successful defenses. He's an Olympic gold medalist. Whether we like it or not, he has a very good amateur background. Been fighting since he was a shorty. So he's been built for moments like this. One thing I'll say about Wilder, he doesn't have a huge, gaudy amateur record or, anything like that. But one thing I will say is this. Yes, he got a bronze. But listen to that, though. Once he decided to take up boxing, he got a bronze. Listen to me. Once this man decided to take up the sport, he received a bronze medal and he holds the WBC title. I know he's not the heavyweight champion. He's not Tyson Fury right now as far as being the man. But when this dude decided to take up the sport, bronze medal, 35-0 or 36-0, 35 knockouts, and he's a title holder. That has to count for something. Boxing is a tough sport to just say, you know what, I'm going to take up boxing, man, and, probably go to the Olympics and win a bronze or get a bronze in a few years and then probably, win a world title. It doesn't go like that. Very hard to accomplish those things. So to me, both guys were great amateurs in different ways. Povetkin, hundreds of fights, gold medal winner. Everybody wanted him when he turned or when he was deciding to turn pro. And he took a year off to make his decision. Kind of like a, built for this. From a kid. That's great. Deontay Wilder, path was a little different. Decided to take the sport up later. And he's, been very dominant and very successful. And when I mean dominant, I don't mean over the whole entire heavyweight division. He hasn't been Klitschko, Fury, but I mean he's been very successful and dominated the opponents that's been in front of him, all right? Now, you look at Alexander Povetkin. To me, in my opinion, he is very susceptible to being held. He can be controlled with the jab at times. I've seen these fights. He can plod around at times with the high guard. Sometimes he'll be winning doing it. But sometimes, you know, guys can control the distance on him. I've seen it. Deontay Wilder, he can fight with his hands low. Not necessarily a bad thing, but when you go into a gym, no trainer, well, at least, I'm not going to say no trainer because there's millions of trainers out there, but usually in the gyms I've been to, and when I had a trainer, we didn't say, okay, we're going to work on your footwork and then we're going to work on fighting with your hands down. That's not what you do, man. You keep your guards up. Now, with that said, some of my favorite fighters, two of my favorite fighters, actually fought with their hands down most of the time, Larry Holmes and Ali. But the basics, the basic fundamentals is you fight with your hands up. I know that. So what I'm saying is I know fighting with your hands low isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is a technical flaw. Nobody teaches you to fight with your hands down. It kind of just happens. You kind of get comfortable with your reflexes and the way you avoid punches. You have to get comfortable to fight like this. And Wilder seems as if he's comfortable fighting like that, but it can be exploited. If Ali was around today, he's my favorite fighter. If I was breaking Ali down, like I would say the same thing. I would say, man, Ali does have a tendency to fight with his hands down and pull back. He can get away with it, but he pulled back against Frazier and got caught with a left hook. So I'm not saying, I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not a bad thing. Oh, yeah, but technically it's not technically correct either. Just my opinion, though. So even though that's not a bad thing, it can be taken advantage of. His defense can come apart sometimes when he's jumping back and pulling back. On the inside, again, I see him against Duhaupas show some inside game, but and he doesn't wrap up enough. Sometimes he goes right to the high guard and he'll let you get off sometimes, or he'll, move away, or he'll pivot out of the way. He did it to Stavern a few times. And Wilder's shown that he can swell around, his face swells up a little bit. And I'm trying to point out everything that I see about these fighters. Both of these guys, Povetkin talked about adding bulk, and I seen pictures of him weightlifting and getting ripped. I seen Deontay Wilder was talking about adding bulk. He's been up to 229 in his last two fights, which I think is a good weight. Probably gets about 235, 240 maybe. I'm not sure. But he looked pretty springy in his last fight against Spilka. Looked good on his feet. Even, the Duhaupas fight looked good on his feet. Some people are questioning Deontay Wilder's chin. He been hit, but shit, Molina can crack though, man. The dude can crack. Duhaupas, he showed he can crack. Not huge power punches, but when you have another big man hitting on you, it might make your legs do a little dance here and there. This is a very difficult fight to pick a winner, man. But when I really break this fight down, and initially, yes, I did favor Povetkin. I thought he could beat Stavern or Wilder. But Wilder has went on to show me things, though, He has grown. Some of you may not see it, and that's fine. But to me, he's grown a little bit as a fighter. That back foot game and using his jab, I didn't think that shit even existed when I used to watch this guy fight. Jason Gavin, so on, guys like that. But I'm going to go with Deontay Wilder to win this fight. I think he's going to control the distance. I think he's going to use his jab. I think it's going to be a straight right hand that's going to get Povetkin out of there. Povetkin is going to have to start from the body and work his attack up. The body up. He cannot do this, Sometimes he has a tendency of winging left hooks and right hooks over the top. Maybe come over the top of one of Deontay Wilder's jabs. Maybe he can catch Wilder on the inside and rough him up and don't let him escape when he's on the ropes, keep him trapped. But I think even if he does do that, I think Wilder will weather the storm. I think they will both weather the early, hard punches from each other. But I think as the fight progresses, I think Povetkin will be on the outside getting clipped with right hands. I'm going to go with Deontay Wilder by knockout, 8th round. YTBC, I'm out.